Andy, how do you expect Diaz free agency to play out this time?
I expect this is going to be more drawn out than it was last time, if you recall, and I'm sure you do. The Mets and Diaz agreed on an extension last time during that window of exclusivity, those first couple of days. I remember being at the GM meetings and the Mets came out that all of a sudden there was an extension for Edwin Diaz. There is mutual interest between this player and this team. I think it's authentic from everything I've ever gathered and seen with Edwin and talked to Edwin, how much he likes being here. But it's also, at 32 years old, possibly his last chance to really take a huge bite at that financial apple and get a big contract wherever. I wouldn't be surprised if he hopes it's the Mets, but I would be extremely surprised if it happens fast like it did last time, because why should he do that?
So he's going to be open to being romanced and wined and dined by other teams. You know, some of them who have some pretty big checkbooks themselves, which makes things interesting. And to me, guys, a little scary for the Mets, because this is a guy that I feel like they really need, because their bullpen is basically empty now. I mean, I know Brooks Raley is back, and that's a good thing. But this is they need to start at the top and get Diaz back in the fold as quickly as possible. To me, I know that's an ideal scenario, and he and his agent may not see it that way. But if not him, who? It's not like the market is littered with all these incredible Edwin Diaz parallels in terms of replacements. So this is a big deal.
Could I interest you in Ryan Helsley?
No, you could not.
Come on, man. We're trying to get the show off to a good start here. Brian, what about from the Yankee perspective? You think they could target Edwin Diaz?
Yeah, I mean, as Anthony mentioned, if you're looking for a relief pitcher who is the top of the market and you need to upgrade your bullpen, which was a problem for the Yankees, then yeah, sure, why not? I think a big question is if he gets that qualifying offer, if that the financially works in there. But look, the Yankees are off to a decent start here. They've got David Bednar, you got Camilo Doval, you got those guys going forward. You're probably not going to have Luke Weaver and Devin Williams next year, although that remains to be seen. But yeah, I mean, New York tested Edwin Diaz,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine the trumpets in the Bronx. Andy, how about Alonso? Back to him here. Why would this offseason potentially be different from what we saw a year ago?
Well, and Scott Boris's position last year was that the qualifying offer was really impairing Alonso's ability to get long-term interest from other teams, and he's free of that qualifying offer this time. Teams can't offer it twice, so he's an unrestricted free agent. This could be a winter. If something's different for Pete, it would be another team, whether you hear about Boston. It's early, but you hear about Boston. You can speculate about the Tampa Bay Rays under a new owner possibly bringing him home. I'm just throwing stuff out there to say, like, if something's different for Pete, it could be widespread and aggressive interest earlier, because after all, he's a really good player. If that doesn't happen, nothing will be different for Pete, Sal. It will be a free agency that could drag deep into the offseason like it did last time. If a club doesn't step up with a 5 or 6 year offer, then we could be back to where we were last time with a bit of a staring contest.
And you think the Mets are going to be as patient as they were last time?
I think that the Mets would be interested in re-signing him, just like last year. It's like same thing we would say last year, on their terms, if it's a length that they're comfortable. So if that's a possibility, I think they'll wait, sure. But if some team
he held them up last year to a point where they decided, you know what, we got to move on. And then they ultimately brought him back anyway. But this is an important.
That worked out for them, Sal.
Well, I understand. I'm saying this is a big offseason here. You can't be held up by one player. I don't care what his demands are, how many home runs he hits. I wouldn't be doing that, but you think that that's still possible?
That's a fair point. Certainly the Mets are in an urgent mode where they got to get back into the playoffs, where they're not going to hold up everything for Pete Alonso. But they like Alonso. They keep him under the right circumstances. So they're not going to write him off in December if he's still out there. So it's a balancing act. This is why it's a hard job running a team, I guess. I'm glad it's not my call.
While we're GMing this thing to death here, and I know that in the wintertime we start to see all the flaws of all these players, you know, and we forget that Pete Alonso is one of the premier sluggers in the game. It's also a business, and I don't have to remind the people with the Mets that they need to get fannies and seats, and it worked out this year where the fans came out to the ballpark, set a City Field record, et cetera, et cetera. But Pete's a star. Like, this is top billing type guy there, and you can go on and on about how he's going to be a DH soon. We're all going to be DHs soon. He doesn't field the position well. I get it. Run prevention is paramount, according to David Stearns, all of those things. But how are the Mets going to get excitement into the ball club and improve and replace 126 RBI, 38 homers, all those doubles Pete hits? I think they need to re-sign him. I think he fits better in Queens than anywhere else in baseball, even though, Andy, I agree with you that other suitors will be there off of a better platform year by Pete. No qualifying offer offer, as you mentioned. I just feel like this is another guy that they have to. I'm spending all of Steve Cohen's money here. Get me Diaz, get me Alonso, but they need to get him back here too.
You know, Brian, the Yankees need a first baseman. You think they could be interested in Pete Alonso?
I doubt it. I just think that Ben Rice did so much down the stretch last year. He took the playing time away from Paul Goldschmidt. Basically, in the second half, every time you saw Ben Rice, he was barreling a ball and hitting it out toward the wall. He wasn't rewarded as much as he probably should have been. I think they're going to try and build around him. You got that left-handed bat. He's young and affordable. But with Alonso here, you're watching the video. I mean, he's either going to come back a returning hero or he leaves town as the Mets home run king. So it's a nice little story here for Pete Alonso.
I do not think that there's a chance that Alonso signs with the Yankees. I just don't see it. I agree with you, Brian, and I would even add, like, I'd be shocked because they have always, as you've seen over your many years on the beat, other than Jason Giambi, who they kind of carved out because of his extreme power on base and leadership at the time, they've always required a plus defender at first base. They've already got Ben Rice taking up a lot of first base innings. If anything, at that position, they need to supplement Rice with someone who's got a glove, like Goldschmidt did last year. So Alonso just does not work for the Yankees to me at all, even though that was rumored last year. This time around, no way.
You know, one more thing on this from the Mets' perspective here. I like the decisiveness where you want Juan Soto, you go all in to go get him. You wanted Yamamoto, you did whatever you could to go get him. He chose the Dodgers. This, well, we want him back, but we might not want him back. Like, that indecision should say all that you need to about a particular player. Right or wrong, I just want to see them make a decision